Hello everyone, let's go ahead and get started. So, this first video is going to be about the exam review with number and calculation, okay? So, to get started, I'm just going to go working through this. I'll try to explain as I go along. I will try to go quickly enough so that you're not here too long, but I will try to give a full and sufficient explanation as possible. So, for the first two here, we have negative 42 divided by negative 7. When we have a negative divided by a negative, that's going to give us a positive answer. And so we're just going to be looking at basically 42 divided by 7, which is going to give us 6. So our answer is simply going to be 6. Here we have negative 7 times 3. We have a negative times a positive. So this is going to give us a negative answer. 7 times 3 is 21, so our answer is negative 21. Moving on to the next one, we have a number sequence. So we have a pattern here. We have 11, something, negative 3, 1, and something. We can see here from negative 3 to 1, we're going to be adding 4. So this seems like a good pattern. Let's see if it will fit in here. So we would need to add 4 to something to get negative 3. That would be negative 7. And if we check, negative 11 plus 4 is negative 7. That looks good. So we'll go ahead and add 4 here. So we get 5. So we've completed our sequence. Next, moving on, we have 7 squared plus 2 times 4. We need to remember BIDMAS. I'll work this over here off to the side. So 7 squared, this is going to give us 49. So now we have 49 plus 2 times 4. The next step is going to be multiplication. So we have 49 plus 2 times 4 is 8. Now we can add these two together. 49 plus 8 is going to give us 57. So our answer here is 57. Next, we have 2 plus brackets 5 plus 3 squared. So again, using BIDMAS, we know that we're going to have to work out brackets first. So I'll rewrite it over here, 2 plus 5 plus 3 squared. Working out the brackets first, we get 2 plus 8 squared, the E for exponent, or I for indices. So we have 2 plus 8 squared is 64. Finally, 2 plus 64 is going to give us 66. So our answer here is 66. Okay, here, for this next one, we need to put brackets into the statement, so we need to think about BIDMAS in order to make this statement correct. Let's use a different color. Okay, so we have 4 times 5 plus 3 equals 32. Okay, well, if I do around 4 times 5, that's going to be the same, right? Because normally I just do 4 times 5 is 20, plus 3, that would give me 23. This doesn't work, so I need to add in some brackets. Let's see if I add them around here. So 5 plus 3 would give me 8. 4 times 8 gives me 32. So this is where I need to add my brackets. Okay, moving on here. So light A flashes every 5 seconds, light B flashes every 6 seconds, and light C flashes every 7 seconds. All 3 lights flash at the same time. Work out how long it will take for all 3 lights to flash at the same time again. This is going to be some kind of LCM problem, right? So to do this, I'm going to need to find the LCM of my 3 numbers of 5, of 6, and of 7. Well, to find LCM, I'm going to basically find my prime factors. 5 is a prime number, 6 has the prime factors 2 and 3, and 7 is also just a prime number. So since there are no numbers here in common, all I need to do is just multiply these numbers. So when I take 5 times 6 times 7, I'm going to get, what, 30 times 7 is going to be 210. So my answer here should be 210. All right, let me go ahead and scroll down now. Okay, so we've got A equals 2 squared times 3 times 5 squared. B equals 2 cubed times 3 squared times 7. I need to find the highest common factor and the LCM. So I've already got my prime factors worked out. To find the highest common factor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at which numbers I have in common for both of them. So let's see, I've got 2's in common, I've got 3's in common. So I take here, I see I've got 2 squared. I've got 2 cubed, so I have two 2's in common. I've got 3 and 3 squared, so I have a 3 in common as well. So I can multiply these together. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 gives me equals 12. So my answer here should be 12. For the LCM, I'm going to do a little bit of the opposite. So I'm going to see which numbers I have, and I'm going to take the highest power of each prime number, and then multiply those all together. So here, for the 2's, my biggest number is going to be 2 cubed. 3's, my biggest power is 3 squared. I have a 5. It's actually going to be 5 squared. And I have a 7. So if you want, you can work this all out, although this will give you your answer here. All right, so we finished the first page. Let's move on to the second. Work out 2 1/5 plus 1 1/7. So what we can do here, for the first part, I'll work over to the side. We can take our whole numbers, 2 plus 1, so you give us 3, and then we just need to work out the fraction parts. 1/5 plus 1/7. To do this, we need to find some sort of common denominator. We can't add these until the number on the bottom is the same. So I can see that 1/5, I can take the 7 and multiply it here and here. 7 times 1 is going to give me 7. 7 times 5 is going to give me 35. And then I can do that with this fraction over here. Take the denominator of the other fraction. So 5 times 1 gives me 5. 5 times 7 gives me 35. I now have common denominators. I can add these. It's going to give me 12 over 35. So with my whole number part and my fraction part, I can put them together to get 3 and 12 over 35. For the next one, I'm going to be dividing fractions. To divide fractions, first, let's go ahead and take this first number here and write it as an improper fraction. So that would be the same as writing 7/6 divided by 2/3. Keep pushing the wrong button on this pen. Okay, whenever I'm dividing here, that's going to give me an equivalent operation as if I take 7/6 multiplied by this fraction turned upside down. So the same as times 3 over 2. Now what I could do is I could multiply this out. This is going to give me 21 over 12. But I could also just cancel. See here, if I cancel, if I divide these both by 3, I get 1 and I get 2. So this is going to give me 7 times 1 is 7, 2 times 2 is 4, which is actually just the same thing here if I were to divide by 3. So here we want our answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. So I'll take 7/4, rewrite this as 1 3/4, and there's my answer here. Okay, write the following numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. Okay, so I need to do a bit of converting here. I can convert these all to decimals, to fractions, to percentages, whichever I want. I think I'm going to convert them to decimals just because it's a bit easier for me to think of it that way. Although you don't have to, you can convert to whatever you want. So I've got 2 decimals already done for me. 1/3, I remember, is 0.333 forever, never, never. 21% is like 0.21, and 1/4 is like 0.25. And now I've got these all as decimals, so I can see which one should come first. So coming first, I would have 0.205. Next, I would have well, I'll go ahead and write it as the problem gives it. Next would be 21%. Next would be here, 1/4, 1/4. Next would be 0.3. And finally, I have 1/3 as the largest number here. Okay, so let's go ahead and move a little bit further down the page. Okay, so Tom and Jerry both earn the same monthly salary. Tom saves 35% of his salary, and Jerry spends 3/5 of his salary and saves the rest. So, in other words, we can already see that here. Let's go ahead and look. We need to work out who saves the most money. If they're earning the same amount, we just need to compare. So Jerry spends this much. He saves. What does he save? Well, 1 minus 3/5. So he saves 2/5. So I basically just need to decide which is bigger, 35% or 2/5. I'm going to convert both of these to a decimal just to see. So 35% as a decimal is going to give me 0.35. 2/5 is a decimal, right? I remember that's going to be the same as 4/10. It's going to give me 0.4. Now, if I compare these, I'm going to see that 0.4 is bigger. So who saves the most money each month? Jerry. And I can say that he saves, if I wanted to be very specific, 0.05 or 5% more than Tom. I don't have to write that, but that does give it more specific. And since they are asking me to show my working, there is a clear example of my working. Okay, so here we've got some rounding. I need to write 3.84761 corrected 3 decimal places. So my answer is going to have 3 decimal places. I'm going to need to look at the fourth one to decide how I round. So I've got 3.84. Now I need to decide if I need to write a 7 or an 8. And to do that, I'm going to look at the number right afterwards, which is a 6. This is bigger than 5, so that means I'm going to need to round up. So instead of 7, here I'm going to write 8. So that's going to be my answer for here. I should have written that a little further up. Here we have 9,325.822 corrected 2 significant figures. So a significant figure is going to be a non-zero number. So it can come before or after the decimal place. It doesn't really matter. Non-zero number. So here, 9325. Okay, well, I've already, all these numbers are non-zero. So the first two, I've got 93. And just like with all my other rounding, I'm going to look at the one that comes after the where I need to stop. I've got a 2 which is less than 5. So rounding this to 2 significant figures will just give me 9,300. Okay, and my last one here, I've got round 384,761 to the nearest thousand. Okay, well, the number in my thousands place here is 4. Looking at what comes after it, I have 7. It's bigger than 5, so I need to round up. That's going to give me 385,000. Okay, moving on. Next question. So Amelia wants to buy 6 sausage rolls. Each sausage roll costs 84 pence, which is basically like cents in pounds. Amelia pays with a 20-pound note. We need to work out how much change Amelia will get from 20 pounds. Okay, so we need to figure out how much she's going to spend in total first. So we're going to take 84, 0.84, we'll say, times 6. So when we work this out, 24, 48 plus 2 is going to give us 50. I have 2 decimal places in the problem, so that's going to give me 5 pounds and 4 pence. When I subtract this from 20, this is going to give me 14.96. So she's going to get 14 pounds, 96 pence in change. Okay, so halfway done. Let's go ahead and look over the next few pages. Zoom in. Okay, we've got a shop that sells washing powder in 650-gram packs. Jacob has no washing powder, and he estimates that he does 2 washes a week using 40 grams each wash. He wants to buy enough washing powder for 13 weeks. How many packs of washing powder does he need to buy? Okay, so let's go ahead and first of all figure out how much he's going to need for 1 week. So he does 2 washes a week using 40 grams each wash. So we've got 2 times 40 grams. This is going to give us 80 grams for 1 week. He wants to have enough for 13 weeks, so we're going to just take this, 80 grams times 13. So we have, what, 800 plus 240. This is going to give us 1,040. 1,040 grams. So how many packs of washing powder does he need to buy? Okay, well, they sell them in 650-gram packs. So if we see 2 packs, this would give us 1,300 grams. This is more than enough for his 2 weeks, so he just needs to buy 2 packs. All right, convert 4/11 to a decimal. So for this, we're going to be using division. I'm going to be using long division. You could also use short division. You can write it out in the Western way, in the Russian way, however you feel is best. But we're going to be taking our number on top, 4 point, and I'm going to add some decimal, some zeros after it, divided by 11. 4 divided by 11 I can't do. So moving on, I have 40 divided by 11. I see that's going to go in there 3 times. I have 33. This can give me 70. So I have 70 divided by 11. I'm going to have 6 here. So 66. And I'm going to get 4. And we see here that already 40. It's going to go in here 3 times. And you're going to see I get a pattern as I go on, right? So it's going to be 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6. So if I want, I could just simply write this as 0.36 with a bar on top. You could also use the 2 points. You could also use the brackets as they do in the old Russian Soviet system. However you see fit, you just need to mark it somehow. Okay, moving on. In a bag, there are only red counters, blue counters, and white counters. A counter is taken at random from the bag, and the table shows the probability of getting a red counter. The number of blue counters to the number of white counters is in the ratio of 2 to 3. We need to complete the table. So first of all, we need to figure out, okay, what probability is there left here? So we're going to take 1, since probability of all of them together is this, minus 3.5. Sorry, not 3.5, 0.35. This is going to leave us with 0.65. And as we see now, we're going to share this in a ratio. So the first step, we're going to add them. 2 plus 3 gives us 5. We're going to take our amount, 0.65, divided by our total here. This is going to give us 0.13. And then we're going to multiply it out. So blue was with 2, so 0.13 times 2. It's going to give us 0.26, 0.26, and white, we're going to take it and multiply it times 3. This is going to be 0.39, 0.39. If you take these and add them all up together, you should end up with 1. Okay, we're going to continue with ratios. Al, Tom, and Joe share 3,000 euros. The ratio of the amount Al gets to the amount Tom gets is in the ratio 5 to 4, and Joe gets 1.5 times the amount that Tom gets. Okay, so that means that if Tom is getting 4 here, 4 shares, that means that Joe is going to get 4 times 1.5. So we can actually set up this ratio as 5 to 4 times 4 times 1.5, which is going to give us 6. So our ratio here is 5 to 4 to 6. If we're going to share this out, we're going to first of all add these up. 5 plus 4 plus 6 is going to give us 15. We take our amount, which is 3,000 euros, divided by 15. This is going to give us 200. And we want to figure out how much Tom gets. We don't really care about Al or Joe at this time. So we take 200. Tom is going to be this guy here in the middle, 4. So 200 times 4 equals 800. Okay, and if we work this out, we'll see that Al gets 1,000 and Joe gets 1,200, which again, 1,200 is 1.5 times 800, so it does all work out. So Tom gets 800 euros. Okay. And one last problem on this page, and we're almost to the last page finally. Okay, Richard gets a bonus of 30% of 130 pounds. Connor gets a bonus of just 40 pounds. We need to work out the difference here. So we need to work out basically the percentage of this. So 30% of 130, we can do this 2 ways. So 30% of 130. The first way we can do this, we can convert this to a decimal. So this is a decimal, it's going to be 0.3. We'll take that times our amount, 0.3 times 130. This is going to give us 39. The other way we could do this, we see that this is a multiple of 10. We could find 10% of 130. And to find 10% of something, just divide it by 10, which is going to equal 13. And we see to get here, we just need to multiply it by 3. So we would take this times 3, which is 39 again. So Richard is going to end up with 39 pounds. Connor gets a bonus of 40. So the difference here, we're going to take 40 minus 39, which equals 1. So the difference here is 1 little pound. Almost done. Hang in there. We're almost there. So last sheet here. Holly invests 500 pounds for 4 years in a bank account. The account pays simple interest at a rate of 1.5 per year. Remember, simple interest, we're not going to be paying on what she has in the new amount. It's going to be the same amount of interest paid out every year. So we need to find out what is 1.5% of 500 pounds. So we take 500. We can do this a few different ways. If we take 1.5%, we can find out what is 1% first, which is going to just be 5. And so 0.5% is just going to be half of this, which is, sorry about that, that's going to be 2.5. So 1.5% equals 7.5 pounds, which again, if we're going to be dealing with pounds and money, we always need to have 2 decimal places, always, always, always. The other way we could do this is you could take 500 times 0.015, converting 1.5% into a decimal. Either way, you should end up with 7 pounds 50 pence. And we're looking at a span of 4 years. So we're going to take this amount, 750 times 4, which is going to give us 30. So work out the total amount of interest she has. Should be 30 pounds. Nicole was on a holiday in France. She spends $14.50 in a cafe. The exchange rate is £1 to €1.15. We need to calculate how much she spends in pounds. This is going to be fun. So the quick way to do this, especially if you have a calculator, would be to take $14.50 and simply divide it by 1.15. And so if you've got a calculator and you want to work this out, it's not going to give you a very nice answer, but it will give you roughly 1261 pounds. So we'll write it here. Always remember, if you're dealing with money, especially dollars, euros, or pounds, if you have any decimal places, you should have always 2. No more, no less, always 2. Okay, just a few more questions and we're about done. Okay, let's see if I can get them all on one screen, just so I don't have to keep zooming in, zooming out. All right, so we have 225 grams of flour. I need to make 9 cakes. Marion wants to make 20 of these cakes. She has 475 grams of flour. Does she have enough flour to make 20 cakes? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. How much would she need to make 1 cake? So to make 1 cake, we would take 225 divided by 9, which when you work this out is going to be right at 25, right? So for 1 cake, you need 25 grams of flour. But she wants to make 20. So we take 25 times 20, which gives us 500. So she would need 500 grams to make 20 cakes, but she only has 475 grams. So she does not have enough. She needs another 25 grams. You can go ahead and write this as your explanation. Be sure that you show some sort of working here. Okay, here's a list of numbers. From the list, write down all the cube numbers. Remember, cube numbers are going to be the ones that you get after you go through this list and get your answer. So 1 cubed would be 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, and so on. 4 cubed, 4 times 4 times 4, 64, 125, and so on. So these are your cube numbers. So looking at this list, 6 is not, 12 is not. You have 27, you have 64. So our cube numbers would be 27, which is 3 cubed, and 64, which is 4 cubed. Okay, over here, work out the value of 5 squared times 2 cubed. So 5 squared, this is going to be 25, times 2 cubed, which is 8. So we simply have 25 times 8. This is going to give us 200. Here, we're going to be playing with some properties of indices. We have 2 to the 9th power times 2 to the negative 2, all divided by 2 to the 4th power. So we can go and simplify this. Remember, when we multiply, it's basically adding these. So 2 plus negative 2, this is going to give us 2 to the 7th over 2 to the 4th. And when we divide, we're basically subtracting. So we're going to take 7 minus 4. This is going to give us 2 to the 3rd power. And finally, we can work that out, which is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And that will be our final answer. And finally, last one. We're going to write the square root of 48 in the form k root 3, where k is an integer. So we need to think about 48. We need to think about what kind of square number we can pull out of this. So they already give us a clue here with this 3. So what happens if we take 48 divided by 3? What do we get? You should see that we get 16. So the square root of 48, we did this way back near the beginning of the year. You can rewrite this as factorizing it a bit inside the square root sign. So 16 times 3. You can then split the square roots. So this is going to be like the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. And the square root of 16 we know is just 4. This right here. So k here would equal 4, although they're just asking you to rewrite it like this. So 4 root 3. And here we finally worked through all of our worksheet. If you still have questions, please let me know. Thank you for making it through this video.